Black Ops 6 gameplay was revealed earlier today, and in this one, I want to take some time to break down a bit of what you need to know, maybe some of what you missed, and offer up some not so explicitly detailed context of certain items, the overall gameplay, and offering that we're seeing further revealed. So drop your thoughts as we go along, drop a like if you enjoy the video, and make sure to subscribe to stay up to date with all things Black Ops 6. A lot is upcoming in the next 2 weeks, a reveal today, COD next week, where we'll be live with Black Ops 6 gameplay here on the channel, and then the beta shortly to follow. Would love to have you in the community, especially if you're part of that nearly 75% of viewers not subscribed, but for now, let's get into it. So surprisingly, based off the last few years of opening night live, Call of Duty almost led off the entirety of the presentation. I kind of figured we'd have to wait a half hour to an hour into the show like we have beforehand, but we actually got the campaign showcase actually just as the second thing in the main show, which is pretty cool. Now, if some of what we discuss here sounds familiar, it's because, well, it was one of the two main missions showcased to press and creators back in June. So we've mentioned parts of this here that were showcased, though it's definitely nice to have it out in the open now and have actual reference points to show for it. So the synopsis of this level, you're trying to break out Adler from the holding cells of a black site below a gala for future Governor Clinton. The cool part about what was showcased here at the very beginning of this gameplay is the very apparent element of choice within Black Ops 6 campaign missions. We've likened this to the mission in Cold War Desperate Measures, where there's multiple different ways to get Adler and the crew into the Lubyanka building to complete the mission, but this is going to be that same sort of level design for a few missions in Black Ops 6, offering up choice, which frankly I'm looking forward to. I like this sort of open world design more than what we had with Modern Warfare 3, but we've already discussed how that I think is a byproduct of just having zero dev time. You had to make something, so let's just put Spec Ops in a campaign mission. But anyways, there's multiple different ways that you can go about this mission, where you have to obtain a retinal scan of a sitting US senator. From our brief, they mentioned that you can go about this a couple of different ways. They detailed in particular back in June that you can hack a silent auction computer, blackmail a senator's wife, but in an accompanying blog post released today, it's also detailed there are other options as well, where you could have a persuasive conversation with a crime syndicate's fixer, or a chat with a mysterious man who slipped the senator you're trying to get FaceTime with. See what I did there? But a chat with this mysterious figure to gain intel and access with. So from a gameplay perspective, I think this is a really cool approach to the campaign. I wouldn't mind if multiple missions are like this in Black Ops 6, especially compared to last year's open world combat missions. That was one of my biggest complaints, minus the god-awful ending and how they ended up wrapping it up. But that was one of my biggest complaints about the campaign, is it just didn't feel immersive, intuitive, or even cohesive in that sense, where you just had multiple missions in a row that were like Spec Ops style design, which I think takes you out of the feeling and following of that story. I think, at least. But when done right, it's very clear that you're in a world, you're not just in an empty map with a plane crash and a few buildings, a shipping yard with a few crates. That's when I think that it proves more immersive for the storytelling. So looking forward to this choice here at this. Beyond that, the Pantheon got the drop on the CIA at this black site, presumably looking for Adler as well, because we do have to remember he's currently wanted by the US for a mission that goes FUBAR in Kuwait at the very beginning of this narrative. So you're both running in Black Ops 6 and evading capture from the CIA and US law enforcement, but also you're dodging this shadow organization of the Pantheon, who we still, I think for the better, don't know anything about at this point leading up to Black Ops 6, other than that they're a cabal of powerful people with a private army seemingly available at any point to them. So it seems like in both this mission showcase and what we saw at Treyarch Studio, once you get to the underbelly of the gala and the CIA black site, that's when things in this mission turn linear. Again, much like Desperate Measures. You have that choice of how you get from point A to point B, but B to C, and the end of the mission is pretty laid out for you. And that's totally fine by me. Now, beyond that, there is some missing footage from what we saw back in June compared to what we had showcased here today that didn't make the cut. The honestly comical mention of the "you ready, pick up the aviators and going am now" got the same sort of corny chuckle, but in good humor, that you may have had while watching that. Things like that, but also we saw a bit of a crawl space during the mission. My mind goes to the Star Wars Jedi games, where you get the same animation of when Cal crawls through tight spaces, like that in the long hallway after the elevator cabling snaps on them. That sequence leads to a confrontation that can be seen in the last Stinger portion of the gameplay, where you're gouging somebody's eyes out with your fingers. We saw that as a part of the campaign mission. There's a little bit more showcased of the firefight on the gala floor with a few abilities, like the stim was showcased among other things that you get to see on that selectable wheel, which, by the way, that'll seemingly only be for campaign. We aren't going to see a GTA Online style and quantity of selections on a selection wheel in multiplayer, so wouldn't worry about that just yet. But honestly, the choices showcased and the sort of multiple variations of how you can approach the mission, that stuff that was previewed was more than what we saw in June. So a little bit of a flip-flop here in regards to the presentations back in June versus today. But that is the showcase and the gameplay here that we have for the new campaign mission that was showcased. Interestingly, there is still no mention of campaign early access. I kind of thought that we might learn something here today out of this because it was a primary focus on campaign. Not multiplayer, not zombies, not Warzone, but campaign. We still have not seen campaign early access mentioned in any capacity. It was rumored for a long while, but we also haven't seen any sort of messaging that would indicate that it is indeed coming. Like, it seems incredibly logical for this to happen again, given Modern Warfare 2, given Modern Warfare 3, and in my opinion at least, that's a valuable pre-order bonus, like an actual one that I think, not just some skins or anything, but to be able to take one aspect out of that when you have to otherwise contend for multiplayer, zombies, or campaign on day one, I actually think that's kind of a valuable pre-order bonus to have. So I'm very surprised that they haven't said anything about this. But either way, when we take a look at this campaign, what we've seen so far and what we still have to learn in the future, I'm looking forward to the campaign. I know that multiplayer is rightfully a point of contention for some people every single year. I get that. Skill-based matchmaking has made MP pretty miserable in some aspects, or sort of lessened the care for it for a lot of people. Honestly, I think that I've played maybe COD MP like half a dozen times since Season 2 or Season 3, usually only on update days, if even that. For me, it's not necessarily as much the skill-based matchmaking, but also I don't care as much. But like zombies, really looking forward to that again. And campaign, I don't know if this is just me getting older and having been focused on MP for the last 15 plus years, but I'm really just loving single-player story-based stuff lately. Brilliant change of pace, and frankly, have loved every Black Ops campaign. Black Ops 3 was probably the weakest by far, in my opinion. I appreciated the attempt at the plot twist where everything after the first mission wasn't real, but also don't think that landed. Frankly, loved Cold Wars, especially every one of those multiple endings, hitting each one of those. Love that Black Ops 2 and Cold War have done that. Gives, I think, so much more replayability to a campaign and weight to your choices as a player. Hoping to see that return here with Black Ops 6, but either way, I get the skepticism of another COD game, but hey, at the very least, I'm personally excited for campaign this year. Let me know your thoughts down below. What do you think of the campaign mission that we saw here today out of Gamescom's opening night live? You like what you see, dislike it, whatever the case, let me know your thoughts. But if you enjoyed the video, you found it at all insightful, do me a favor, drop a like on it. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Black Ops 6. Again, we got a lot upcoming here, COD next, and a live stream from that event here on the channel next week, and then the beta next weekend. Not this upcoming weekend, but the weekend following. I'd love to have in the community for all the coverage we have here coming, plus other stuff in the meantime and beyond. Would love to have you. But for now, thanks so much for watching. My name has been Espresso. I'll see you later. Take care and peace.